Wow, what's this? This is Walter's silkmoth, a rare, tiny little creature that is endemic to California and a small part of Mexico. A lovely, unique, endemic, rare, orange, cute little thing. They are, however, by many metrics, very difficult to breed in captivity, especially outside of their native range. Sounds like a challenge for me, doesn't it? In the United States of America, there's an awful lot of species of silk moths. And trying to breed them all in captivity is quite the challenge. But among those species there is one I always wanted to raise. It's pretty rare and it's only found in California and a part of Mexico. And I believe the state of Mexico where they are found is called Baja California. It is a bright orange silk moth. The males have brown forewings with orange hindwings and the females are just completely orange. It's very beautiful. Now a friend of mine has sent me eggs of this species, so I'm really excited because this is a rare species. It is hard to obtain. It is also difficult to rear in captivity, so there is a very high probability that I'm going to fail. It is called Walter's silkmoth, Saturnia, or nowadays Calosaturnia walterorum. Wow, beautiful, isn't it? And the larvae have really cool colors. Now in my opinion, all species of silk moths are easy to breed if you have the right conditions. But this is where the problem lies, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't have the right conditions. See, this species lives in a special environment known as the chaparral, which is a dry shrubland environment which from my understanding is endemic to, I believe, California and a part of Mexico, or at least the southwestern United States and going down into Mexico. A dry shrubland environment where it's very dry and sunny. And the problem is, I am not in the United States of America. I live in Europe. I live in the Netherlands, a very small country in Northern Europe. And the problem is, my country is temperate, it is cold, it is very rainy and humid. So it's the opposite of what this species likes. And the thing is, I don't really have a professional breeding space for them. I'm going to do my best to control humidity. I'm going to do my best to add a lot of paper towel to absorb moisture, to keep the relative humidity in my room low indoors. And I'm gonna try to keep the heating high to warm them up. And hopefully I can get some through from egg to cocoon to moth, but it's going to be extremely difficult. This species is the easiest to raise in captivity if you live in California. If you live in California or northwest Mexico, maybe you stand a chance of raising this species very easily, no effort. But if you are outside of their native range, in a very northern latitude in a temperate country such as you are going to struggle. And I'm pretty sure that I am going to struggle in this video. Without further ado, let's give it a try. I don't know if I'm gonna succeed. It's going to be one of the hardest species I've tried to raise so far. Not many people succeed in raising them at all. So let's go, the Walter Silkmoth, Calosaturnia walterorum, in this episode of MothCycles. MothCycles is my special web series where we raise moths together from egg to moth. And I have to say, guys, I really wish I had a professional breeding space. I really wish. It's my biggest dream to have my own rearing laboratory where I can play with temperature and humidity. It feels like such a big gamble just to raise them indoors and hope they like the conditions. It sucks, in my opinion. But let's start the intro. Walter's silkmoth, Calosaturnia walterorum. Pooh. if you want to breed this very rare species in captivity, shoot your shot. It's not gonna be easy, I warn you. It's a difficult one. But some of the best plants to use are Rus species or sumac, arbutus species, also known as madrone where they come from, but in Europe we have strawberry tree, which is also an arbutus. It works. Liquid amber or sweet gum, believe it or not, it is not a native food plant for them, but they will eat it in captivity. Or you can use manazita or arctospilos, which is probably the best possible host plant to use for them, because it's one of their main host plants in the wild. However, I do not have manazita here where I live in Europe. I have decided to go with Rus tipina or staghorn sumac, which is actually a very good host plant for breeding moths and butterflies. I just don't really use it in much of my videos because in the Netherlands it is not common in my climate, only as an ornamental plant in some gardens. But it can be used, and in this video I am gonna use it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video as always starts with a petri dish of eggs, as you can see. And these are the eggs of a very cute little silk moth. It is Calosaturnia walterorum, formerly known as Saturniidae walterorum, I suppose. And the eggs are hatching. If we look closely, we see that there's the two first babies that hatch from them. It's not much. However, it's enough to get started. What we do is we scoop up the babies with a paintbrush. Oops, that one fell here. And place them in here. Now, in a container I included several types of plants. The babies will be able to choose their favorite plant on their own, I suppose, and see which one they prefer eating. That was it so far. All these eggs here are still about to hatch anytime soon. So for that we have to be a little bit more patient. But before that time the first two babies are out. Here I have a mix of plants that they supposedly can eat. It's arbutus, rus and liquid amber. And the babies will choose the plant they like the most themselves, I suppose. Let's put a lid on and check back later.
These tiny things will grow to be one of the more rare species of silk moth on my channel. Ah, look at these little babies, they are loving it. In a few days' time they could shed their skins into the second life stage. Already appears to be the second instar. I know it's not much, but they become a little bit bigger. An orange second life stage. After a while their small container became way too small for them and I had to upgrade them to a larger one. Let's see what that entails. These boxes are getting too small, we need a bigger one. Ultimately, the moths are going to outgrow their little tiny plastic box. I believe that giving them lots of space is very important, so what can you do? Let me show you. First, get a big plastic box, like this one. Second of all, you grab a can or a bottle and fill it with tap water. To do the dishes, okay? Don't judge me, guys. What? But you fill a can or bottle with water. Just like that. Yep. Thanks for watching MothCycles. After you fill a can with water, you put in the food plant. In this case, in this video, I have chosen to use Rus or sumac. It's a plant I rarely use in my videos. It's just because of my environment and climate. It's actually a very good plant to use for many different types of silk moths. So what you do is you take this and you place it in. Next you could add a layer of paper towels if you want.
here on the bottom of the container. If you want, it's not mandatory, but it helps to clean stuff up. You put it here on the floor. What you can also do is you can take a piece of paper and shove it here in the neck of the bottle or the can. Because caterpillars are kind of stupid, they will crawl in here and drown. You don't want them to get inside and drown in the water, so you close it off. Now, you could use a solid plastic lid if you want. I use a solid lid for the first instars because when they are young, they can still tolerate high humidity. But you can also use a lid that you made a hole in. Oops, this is a too big lid for too big box, wrong example. Perhaps it looks more like this. This is the kind of lid that I can use for the later instars, not the young instars. But both is acceptable, I think. There you go. You can use a netting, throw it around the box, and then put on the lid, just like that. Yeah. This might be a type of setup that the caterpillars could feed on. Interesting. That's how you do it. Now let me show you what I did next during this breeding project.
These tiny things will grow to be one of the more rare silkmoth species of my channel. Alright, so this is the second instar, if you are curious. This is what it looks like. Still, a lot of babies are being born. So it seems they do become more orange. Growth was very noticeable. It looks like a bigger version of the first instar. Short time using the same setup, I even noticed some third instars cropping up.
This species likes to be really dry. They like low humidity, and for that I used a secret weapon, a dehumidifier. That's right, these machines will make your room more dry. For species of moths. They need a more dry environment, and it seemed to work wonders because where I live in the Netherlands it's usually very humid. Really, it works.
Have you guys ever used a dehumidifier? It makes the room more dry. I use this in the room where I raise walterorum. And it seems to work.
The walterorum are growing perfectly. It's a little bit suspicious how well they are growing. This is the point where some of them should become sick or have diseases. Because this is supposed to be one of the most difficult species to raise in captivity. Especially in plastic boxes, but so far I'm having a crazy amount of success that I did not expect. And with some luck we should be able to see many color forms as well. This may include yellow and even red and a pink and a green form. And we zoom out and we grab a hold of this plant very carefully. Oh my gosh, there are so many caterpillars in here. I'm really surprised. How are they still alive? I don't know. For walterorum, this setup is a really risky one, and I acknowledge that. But hey, don't fix what ain't broken. All of them are still alive. Just look at how many larvae we have right now feeding. This is pretty cool actually. So I do think pretty soon I should move them to something bigger, you know? Something bigger of an enclosure. I'll try to find something. But wow, here's the evidence that so far this method can work. At least until the third instar. Such colorful larvae, eh? So bright. Wow, it's really fluorescent. That's pretty good, I'll say. Hope they continue to grow this well. That would be fantastic. There you go. Well, what's really cool about the caterpillars of this species is they have several color forms. And I think we are really lucky because we got each and every color form on camera. Really pretty. In the room where I was breeding this species, I was always using my dehumidifier. As you can see, the humidity is going down slowly. It makes the room more dry. For a species that likes to have a dry environment, this is a secret weapon. At least, I'm not sure if I was successful because of this thing, but it might have helped. Who knows? Now guys, what's really awesome about Calosaturnia walterorum is the caterpillars can have several color forms, but it looks like in my breeding right now I have all the color forms. So we can do a nice video comparing them. First of all, there is the green form. The green form is very bright, very colorful. And then there is the yellow and the pink form, of which I also have several. And it's really cool to see all of them together. That's awesome though. I think these are some of the most variable Saturnid larvae that I've raised. Like, just look at that. Just look at the color variety and appreciate it. As for me, seeing the caterpillars of a really rare moth species grow so well, to me is always a joyous moment, but I'm gonna stop filming now because it's actually really bad to touch this species with your hands. Caterpillars are kind of sensitive to disease and virus, so don't touch them too much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to witness another Bart Coppens win. Because I'm raising another rare, difficult to raise species. They're doing really well. I've upgraded them to bottles with food plant. It is sumac. And the caterpillars have many color forms, let me show you. Now, from the final instar, I prefer to rear them in a cage, a big insect cage here. And what I do is I take the bottles with the sumac. This one is a bit dried out and old, but there's still caterpillars in it, so I'm gonna put them here.
inside of a big, whoops, plastic box with paper towel. Just like that. It's a bit inconvenient, but it works, trust me, it works. Then I'm gonna shove this whole box inside of this cage here. Whee! And the larvae will rear themselves in this enclosure. Of course, then we close the zipper. Just like that. And I rear them indoors. Folks, this generation of walterorum is also growing really well, beyond expectations, and I just gotta show you how variable these caterpillars are. It's brilliant. Now guys, slowly they are starting to be fully grown, and I really enjoy how they are kind of like Christmas decorations, folks. Take a look. This extremely sensitive species, guys, to handle the caterpillars is really a bad idea. So why am I doing it? Well, I guess I am always the exception to the rules I make myself. Bit hypocritical, but really just an educational moment here to show you how awesome they are and variable. We got a lot of color forms, at least this time. We have all the forms. We have the green, yellow, we got the pink form. Sometimes you don't get all the forms, you just get one or two. But it's really pretty. They're like tiny Christmas decorations. Wow! Wow, 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 wow. That's fantastic. I love it. Enjoy this, because you're not going to see this on any other YouTube channel, you see. Other YouTubers, they are having skill issues, so they don't have the ability to breed species like these and show them off on YouTube. That's a skill issue. Just kidding. Just kidding, or am I? But for real, there's not many people on YouTube making this many content about this many obscure and unusual species that you usually don't see in social media or in media in general. I like to bring awareness to them. And just look at how awesome these caterpillars are. And then after a while, the caterpillars started spinning cocoons. I thought I saw a rare bird. Let me show you what that looks like. Cocoon spinning. That means that you've made it kind of far. Alright guys and gals, time for another essential part of this video. I had trouble locating some of my caterpillars until I had a closer look. And I noticed this is why I struggle to find them. It's because some of them have been hiding inside the leaves with a mission, you see. They've started to spin cocoons, for which I'm grateful.
Calosaturnia walterorum, in my opinion, is a species that is very hard to raise, especially outside of its native range. I think they could be easy to raise if you live in California, because you have the native environment and native conditions. So in California they are probably very easy to raise. But outside of that, they are very hard. They need dry, warm, hot conditions, which could be hard to provide in captivity. So getting them from egg to cocoon is actually difficult. It's not something that every breeder can do. So I'm proud of this moment, because this caterpillar, he is definitely building a cocoon. And there's more cocoons too. So is that not great? I think that's great. The cocoon is still transparent. We can literally see the larva still making a cocoon. He's moving. Wow. So this is a important moment. Let's leave them alone for now. Still making the cocoon, so we don't want to disturb them. Unfortunately, guys, our survival rate was not perfect. It was far from perfect, in fact. I had one problem, and that's that I need to raise these insects indoor in my bedroom, where I can't really control the conditions very well. I wish I had something like a breeding laboratory, you know, like a space where I can raise these insects in peace and quiet, you know, for myself, where I can have real control over the humidity and the temperatures, but I can't, because I'm raising them in my shitty, crappy bedroom. Sorry for the language, but it's true. I'm just being blunt and just being honest. I hope you can handle that. My dream was always to have a laboratory or a place to raise these insects in captivity, like a moth breeding lab. I think something like that would be amazing for me, but I can't. I need to raise the moths as a hobbyist in suboptimal conditions. Guys, here is a very important walterorum update. I have simultaneously really good and really bad news. Do you want to start with the good news or the bad news? The good news? Okay. Well, last night I was checking the larvae and I noticed something special. They were spinning cocoons. Let's play the clip. And now the bad news. I was so close to the finish, but half of my caterpillars suddenly started to die. Now, I don't know why, but here you can see one of the dead caterpillars. What happens is they shrink, they stop eating, and they just shrivel and dry up. So this is very painful. And I think about half of my caterpillars died from this mysterious disease. It's a very sad moment. But this is also very typical of Calosaturnia walterorum. It's a very rare and difficult to breed species that's really for experts, you know, for expert silkmoth breeders. And even I, despite all my experience with breeding moths, don't really know how to raise these, I guess, without having some mortality. They are super sensitive caterpillars from California and Mexico. And the thing is, they need a special environment. So rest in peace, little guy. This is one of the last ones who died, unfortunately. So that's really sad, isn't it? Now guys, the problem with this species is they are from a very special environment. It is known as the chaparral.
And the chaparral is a special... The problem with these species is that they are from a very special environment in California and Mexico known as the chaparral. And my understanding is that the chaparral is a very dry, sunny shrubland with very low humidity and high temperatures. And my understanding is that in January and February there is a monsoon season in the chaparral, so it starts out kind of cool and rainy. And that's when these silk moths, they come out of their cocoon, they start flying and laying eggs in the monsoon season. Californians and Mexicans, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm from Europe, I've never been in the chaparral. I've done a lot of reading about it, however. But gradually, when the moths start laying their eggs, it's still a bit cool and chilly, but over time, it's the beginning of spring and summer, and temperatures rise and it becomes really dry and hot over time. And that's a big problem, because I live in the Netherlands in Europe. And my country is cold and humid. For the past few weeks, even though it's August, the middle of summer here, it's been non-stop raining. The temperatures here are very mild, moderate and humid. And I think what killed most of my caterpillars was the excess moisture, the excess humidity. They hate it. The problem is I don't really have a way to bring humidity down. I can control temperatures. I can heat up my room, I can cool my room down, I can use airco or heating. But I don't really have something to control the humidity. And that's really what sucks, because I don't have a professional rearing space. And that's really frustrating for me, because I have a special talent for breeding rare and difficult to raise moths. But I feel like I cannot really use my talent to the full extent of its ability, because I lack a proper space. I don't have the equipment, and the uncontrolled high humidity has made some of my caterpillars sick. So this is a bittersweet moment, because some of them did make cocoons, and that means the ones who did make cocoons, well, they are gonna turn into moths. And I like to imagine the ones who made cocoons are the strongest ones who survived in captivity, who tolerated the conditions they didn't completely like. So let's check. Here's some of the cocoons. Cocoons of walterorum are very funky, as you can see. They are round and brown, and they like to spin them near the floor, it seems. Here's one caterpillar still spinning. See that? Hope they'll make it. So, oh, here's two cocoons. Look. Here's two cocoons. So the cocoons of walterorum are really funky looking. So, oh, look. Here's a bunch of cocoons in close proximity. Can you see it? And this one here is still spinning a cocoon. I think this one we should not disturb it, because it looks like the larva didn't pupate yet. Not sure if it will make it though, it doesn't look completely right. But it surely is spinning a cocoon. Here are the leaves. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is the larvae who finished making a cocoon, I'm gonna take them out. Sometimes they like to spin here in the paper towel. So let's go cocoon hunting, guys. Ah, here's one. I think this larva is still spinning the cocoon, but here you can see what the cocoon looks like. It's brown, oval. Not sure if this larva looks right. I hope he will pupate properly. I imagine some of them are still a bit sickly. I'm a bit sad about the fact that many of them started dying right before pupation, but it's to be expected. This is a really difficult species. So I think I'm gonna leave this cocoon alone. Oh, look, guys. Some of them like to spin inside the paper towel. I think I'm gonna take this cocoon here.
Come on. Here on the floor, two of them have spun cocoons here in the leaves. Can you see it? Here in the leaves, two of them. So I'm gonna take those cocoons out. They like to spin in this corner for some reason. Let's see if there's more. Yep, I see something. Still have some caterpillars left, but they are really sick looking and I should wash my hands because this is full of disease. This one is about to die. See that? Rest in peace. This is when it looks like when they become sick. They start secreting this disgusting brown liquid and they stop moving and they dry up. I hate it when this happens. On my YouTube channel we've been really successful this year raising some super rare species without having any diseases. But even Bart Coppens, the sexy moth king himself, sometimes has issues with rare stuff. Especially these really difficult species who need a dry environment. Yeah, there's no hope for this one. It's going to die. I'm sorry.
Now guys, I will say this. If you want to be a high-level moth breeder, breeding moths can be the easiest hobby that you've ever done, or the most difficult and frustrating hobby that you've ever done. In this world, there are species of moths that are so easy to breed in captivity. A child can do it. But there's also species who are super expensive, hard to get, frustrating and hard to keep alive. And if you are determined to be a moth breeder who is really good at breeding moths, I'll tell you this, get mentally prepared for failure. You have to be able to mentally cope with losses. In my career there's been some really frustrating experiences where I had some really expensive or rare species that didn't make it. The caterpillars just didn't thrive. And you have to keep experimenting to get the conditions right. And today's rearing was a mixed bag because we did get some cocoons. See, this is an achievement. Getting walterorum to cocoons, in my opinion, is an achievement. It's very difficult to do. It's a very hard species, and the fact some of them even made it is a miracle. But I'm also a bit bitter and frustrated of the losses. I had so many caterpillars. I think I had like 50, 40 in the final instar. And I think maybe 20 made it to cocoons. So I lost over half of them, and that makes me a little bit angry, unfortunately. I have some caterpillars left who are alive. But they do look a little bit sickly, and I'm not sure if they are going to survive. My gut instinct tells me that the strongest caterpillars just made it to cocoons, and the rest who are too slow, they will die. Probably from the high humidity in my country. I really need a professional breeding space, guys. I really do. It's so annoying to breed everything in my bedroom with no control over the conditions. I'm so motivated to do this hobby right and give my animals the best care I can provide, but sometimes it's a big shit, you know, a big frustration. There's another cocoon. That's a win. That's a win at least. Caterpillars have been sick. I opened some of the cocoons to see if they actually pupated. But it turns out they actually did. Some of them are already pupa. That's really fast. This is such a strange species. So let me show you what's inside of these cocoons. There's the pupa of moths. Just to show you what it really looks like. The pupa of walterorum. Oh look, there's another cocoon. I think that's a win at least. Cocoons of them look so silly. You guys know that the cocoon of a moth is just the silk casing, it's just the shell. Because inside of the cocoon there's the actual animal in the form of a pupa. It looks like we have mostly females so far. I think this one down here could be a male though, or a small female, I'm not sure. Actually I think these are just females so far.
I think all of these are really females. Even the small pupa could be a small female. I could be wrong. I need to have a closer look later. But this is what the pupa look like of these moths. And I'm amazed to see some of them did actually pupate. So that means not the caterpillars didn't become sick and died in the cocoon. Some of them actually are about to become moths. So the hardest part is over.
So today is a day that I have really mixed feelings. I feel really happy. I feel a sense of accomplishment because we managed to get some of them to cocoons. We managed to raise a really rare, difficult species. In my opinion, you have to be really an expert to raise this moth. You have to be an expert. It's one of the really difficult species in my opinion. So I feel proud that the fact that some of them did make it to cocoons. But I also feel sadness that many of them died. It feels unnecessary and I kind of blame myself for it. This hobby gives you strange emotions sometimes, you know. This really weird mix of happiness and sadness. This hobby can mess with your feelings sometimes, like an axe that keeps coming back and playing with your feelings. So I'm hoping if we breed it in the future I have a better result. But at the same time, yeah, I'm happy they made it in the first place. And maybe, I think a lot of people wouldn't have come this far. So it's really mixed feelings. People advised me not to raise the caterpillars in boxes, but some of the ones who lived in boxes also made cocoons. So let me show you this as well. So when are we gonna see the moths? In a year. Guys, the cocoons of this species have to hibernate before they turn into moths. That means it takes a full year before we see the moths. Right now it's August, so then there will be September, October, November, December, January. In the wild they come out around January or March. But in my country I'm gonna save them until spring, so that will be March, April, May. The moths will come out maybe in 7 to 8 months. I'm gonna store the pupa cold outdoors. And the good news is they are really cold hardy. So in winter you just have to store them really at low temperatures and warm them up in spring. That's all you have to do. It's easy, but it takes a lot of time. So let me show you what to do with the cocoons. The bad news is that if you have managed to raise this moth to cocoons, it might take like 7 or 8 months or more for you to see the moths. You see, these moths have a mandatory hibernation in the cocoon stage, which, to my knowledge, cannot be skipped. I'm saying to my knowledge because moths can do things that we don't know sometimes. In the past I've said this about certain species and I was wrong. But as far as we know, the cocoons of this species need to hibernate. Which means you need to place them in a cold environment for several months, which in my case is just outdoors. Expose them to cold, low temperatures. And after that warm them up in spring. Now, from my experience, this species is surprisingly cold hardy, more than you would expect from a species in California and Mexico. Perhaps it has retained some of its ecological tolerances, of its ancestral relatives, which are moths from the genus Saturnia and Saturnia-like moths who hibernate in the form of cocoons with a holarctic distribution. Those of you who know what this means, we'll talk about this after the video also. But the point is, you can hibernate them cold, much more cold than you would anticipate given its environment. I placed them outdoor in the Netherlands in winter and they survived even frost and snow. To my surprise, but also not total surprise, because I kind of expected them to be able to survive this. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it. Let me show you how that goes.
Next thing that we have to do is we have to overwinter the species. We have to hibernate the cocoons. And the way I do that is by just placing the cocoons outdoors. Here in this plastic box. And believe it or not, even in my cold temperate country in Europe, the Netherlands, this moth from California can hibernate outdoors. This species is surprisingly cold hardy. Well, maybe not surprisingly if you understand their habitat, but I'll give you more details about that later. Just keep them cold until spring and warm them up if the weather improves.
Made the cocoons in a plastic box with a layer of paper towels, and I just put them in my garden and expose them to cold until next spring. Let's see if it works. Can a rare moth species from California survive the cold winter temperatures of the Netherlands in Northern Europe? Let's find out. You see? Thing is, it's currently spring. It's currently spring, things are warming up, so I'm taking them out of hibernation. I'm gonna see if we made it. If we managed to breed this rare, difficult, dare I say expert level Saturniid. Alright guys, we're in the middle of winter, this is February. And just to prove it, as you can see there is snow everywhere. Some people will be like, Bart Coppens, are you crazy? This moth is from California. There's no way it will survive the freezing cold in Europe. Well, you're actually wrong, because this species is actually very cold hardy. First of all, they are from high altitude in the mountains. Now I know California gets super hot. You know, it's famous for being a very warm state in the United States of America. But actually they do have a winter. It is not a tropical place, not fully tropical at least. They have a temperate environment with a winter where it's cooler. But especially in the mountains in California, it can be freezing cold. And therefore these moths have actually developed a good cold resistance. And I'm just checking up on them. And the cocoons, they look and feel very healthy. It's going to be a few more months until spring, but until then I'm going to just keep them outdoors and warm them up only when it starts to get more warm and sunny. And then it was finally spring. Spring is the time that is to me the most wonderful. In winter as a moth breeder there is simply not that much to do, except sitting out these cold snowy months. And many of my moths and butterflies hibernate, so when it comes to my hobby there isn't that much to film or do or talk about, except waiting for the next spring so I can breed more moths. Yeah, my hobby is very seasonal. Anyway, when it was spring I warmed up those cocoons.
My moth breeding cage indoors. Wanna see a sneak peek? Yeah, this is a crazy amount of pupae, isn't it? And there's a lot of things hatching. Ooh. What's this? Ooh. Ooh, what's this, guys? What's this giant moth sitting here? Well, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it, because that's for future videos that I'm working on. Oh. Today, we're going to talk about these cocoons that I just took out of hibernation. Let's find a nice spot for them. Let's make a nice clearing for them here. Oh yeah, that looks great. And I'm gonna place them here. And if all goes well, and they warm up to room temperature, in a few weeks, moths should come out. Ooh. This is my insect breeding room. Today is Today is time for a nice little cocoon inspection. I wonder how they're all doing. Oh, look at my little babies. Doing pretty well. Oh, what's this, guys? No way. This is a rarity, dude. This is Antheria montezuma from Mexico. An endemic rarity. But wait, my video is not about this species, is it? Whoa. That's for another life cycle. Silkmoth from tropical Africa. But hold on. Wait a second, what's this in the corner? Whoa! Finally! It was about time. I think we need to take this one outdoors for a close-up. Uh-oh, there's wind. Sorry for the strong wind. Netherlands is a windy country. Wow, guys. This Silkmoth is really, really beautiful. Oh my gosh. Look at it. It really is one stunningly beautiful insect that was worth the effort and worth the wait. Wow. Absolutely gorgeous. So cute. So adorable. So precious, so valuable. Don't fly away. Don't worry guys, my insects never escape or fly away. I'm very professional and very conscious of the environment, even when handling exotic insects. Wow. So incredible. She just came out of her cocoon, so she isn't ready to fly yet, although I hope she calms down. Come on, calm down. Calm down, no one is gonna hurt you. No one is gonna hurt you, cutie. Oh yeah. I guess this was another rare species that was missing on my YouTube channel. So I fixed it. So I raised it in captivity, that's right. Another life cycle complete of another rare species. The Bart Coppens channel keeps winning. Wow. One day in the future, I swear, my channel is gonna have almost every species of moth. I'm 29 years old. I can keep doing this for decades until I'm an old man. Imagine how many species I'm gonna have on my channel if YouTube still exists in the future, like 10 or 20 years from now. I promise you guys, I'm only getting started. What's really cool is it has pink legs. Can you see it? Oh, that's cute. Red pink legs. I didn't even notice. Now I like them even more. Wow. I'm so happy. They are gorgeous. They are adorable. Walterorum is one awesome species. Wait. I heard a sound. Aha. More of them are coming out too. So now we have even more moths. One thing that really amazes me, blows my mind. about moths is how some species can be in the cocoon for like half a year or more. For like 8 months in this case. But when the moths come out of the cocoon, they all do it on the same day. That's amazing synchronization. But I have some good news and some bad news. You see? This is the same day, okay? Today, 2 females and 1 male came out, like I literally just collected them. However, let me show you the problem that I have. So these 2 large silk moths here, on top are the females. We have one medium-sized female and 1 large female. You can see the difference. However, we also have a male, which should make me happy, but something bad happened. The male has a medical problem, as you can see, because he was born with a crippled forewing. This is really annoying. Now guys, this is the first time I'm showing you a male of this species. As you can see, the males are really small, of Calosaturnia walterorum. The males are like so much smaller than the females. However, sadly, the first male that I have, well, he is kind of pretty. He has pretty colors, but this is the problem. He has an underdeveloped wing. And that's just very unfortunate. It happens, you know, they're animals. All forms of life can have imperfections or even disabilities. It's just what happens, and this one is imperfect. But the problem is, if he wants to mate with one of my females, he has to fly over, you know, to fertilize one of the females. But the thing is, I'm not sure if he is capable of doing that. So right now, this is the situation. I have two gorgeous, 2 healthy, gorgeous females here. Can you see them? Like 2 beautiful ladies. Don't worry, they don't fly away. They are kind of lazy. See? This female here on my middle finger, whoop, one fell to the ground. No, don't worry, I really don't let them fly away. So they are really healthy and big. Let me put them away for a second in their enclosure. There you go, because they are starting to become active. So yeah, these females, they are gorgeous, they are healthy, they are single. But unfortunately the male, he has a disability. He is kinda sorta disabled. And I honestly don't know if he's gonna be capable of pairing. If we are really lucky, another male may come out. I really hope so. I mean, the moths are massively coming out of their cocoons right now. We had 3 in 1 day. So my logic is maybe tomorrow we're gonna have even more of them, including hopefully a healthy normal male. But if we don't, then tomorrow morning I'm going to try and hand pair them. Because maybe this male needs some help. Preferably, I would like to mate a healthy male, not one with a crippled wing. I don't like to breed animals with basically disabilities. It's not good. It's better to breed just only healthy individuals. But yeah, we will see what happens. So this species, by the way, are day flying, and they mate in the early morning. Somebody told me to check them during sunrise, between like 7 and 12 o'clock in the morning. Okay. But somebody else told me the mating, it only lasts like 15 minutes. 15 minutes? Yeah. So it's very easy to miss it. Even if you're paying attention, sometimes you don't notice, you know. They pair, 15 minutes, boom, and the male flies away. So I don't even know if they will have mated tomorrow. I don't even know. Guess I'll do regular checkups
And just to be sure, I will make sure to save the eggs. But yeah, it's gonna be intense situation. I've heard pairing them is not difficult. But it's my first time, so it's gonna be tricky still. It's my first time with Walter Silkmoth. And now we are working with a male who may physically struggle to fly over to the females. Maybe he can walk on through the cage, I hope so. Otherwise we're gonna try to hand pair them tomorrow, I've decided. I have no idea if these species can be hand paired, maybe. We could give it a try. This is a very rare species, a very expensive and difficult to obtain species. The eggs cost many dollars and so do the cocoons. Now I don't breed insects for money. I am not a commercial breeder. I purely breed insects because of my passion for nature, my passion for insects, my passion for their ecology and life cycles. I'm really passionate about it and I want to educate people about them. It's really not for the money, but it's also expensive hobby. And if I have the opportunity to produce eggs or cocoons that I could trade or sell, it would be more beneficial than letting them go to waste. It's always more satisfying. And we are breeding insects, yeah? Breeding. You want to end up with more insects than you started with. That's the best scenario, you know? You start with like 30 eggs and you end with hundreds of eggs. So your total amount of animals increased. That's the point of breeding. So we're gonna see if we can get to that point. I don't know if we can. Tomorrow is gonna be challenging. Let me show you what I did a few days later.
Folks, here we go. I just got the gorgeous female. But next to this beautiful female, there is a new male coming out. Perfect timing. Once again. I hope these are going to mate ASAP. That would be fantastic. The situation is very annoying because the new male that we've had also has a strange and deformed wing. I don't know what it is, but we seem to be cursed with the males. They seem, most of them, well, not most of them, but a few of them so far have had kind of deformed wings, but I'm hoping this is good enough to fly and find a mate. Despite his imperfection, I would like to take this male and place him here in this enclosure. Hopefully he will start flying around. Yeah, that's good, that's what we want. Let's hope he will be fit enough to pair with the females. And yes, we did just have two gorgeous females come out. They are worthy of a little close-up. Wow, guys, this species is so cool, isn't it? It is such an awesome species. Fantastic. This female has a bit of imperfection on her hind wings, but who cares? They're animals. All animals have imperfections, but look at how gorgeous they are, like this bright orange. It's amazing. Wow, this species is really awesome, really recommended. So beautiful, guys. So my next move is to place the females in the enclosure with the male and see if they have any interaction. Ideally there is going to be a mating, but you never know, right? So this can tend to be a bit of a tricky species. Let's just place them outdoors and see what happens. So the male is assaulting the females right away, but the female doesn't seem to be cooperative. Oh my god! This is the craziest pairing I've ever seen. No way! Did they just already mate? Oh my god! This is not possible, this is not normal. Dude! No way! Way, guys! I'm so happy. This is amazing. I am smiling. I have never in my life seen a male that was this eager to mate. He just came out of the cocoon and he just assaulted that female.
I'm pretty sure she wasn't even calling, maybe. She was trying to get away from the male and he just jumped on her. And they instantly mated. I didn't witness any pairings of the previous moths, but I imagine all of them did if it is this easy. My god. Let me take the camera. Whoop. No freaking way. Now we have to be careful. We don't want to disrupt the mating. Look! They are mating. They are freaking mating. Like straight up. Don't worry about me handling them. During the mating, both the male and female are incapable of mating, of flying away. But just look at this. Can you believe this? So here's proof that they are pairing. We have to be careful. So if there's a proper mating, the abdomens of the male and female should be attached. So sorry for handling them, guys. I assure you, I am a professional. I know what I'm doing. It's okay. But here you can see the proof that the abdomen is connected. So yes, this means they are mating. I don't recommend that you handle moths during pairing. It can give them some stress, so let's put them away. This is just the proof. Proof that yes, indeed, these two lovers are mating! Dude, we did it! We did it! We raised freaking walterorum, and it ended with one mating that we actually observed. That's crazy, yo. The full life cycle of Walter Silkmoth is about to be completed right here. And the mating is very fast. It should last about 15 minutes or less. But this is why you should never doubt me, guys. Wow. And I can't believe we've done it on this channel. Another rarity down. That's fantastic. And there's a good chance that now this female is going to lay hundreds of eggs and we can continue the life cycle. Thank you, male. Despite your imperfections, you managed to do your job perfectly well. The males of this species are really small Saturniids, even smaller than Pavonia, if you know what that means, Saturnia pavonia. Wow, we did it. They are mating right away. That is crazy. Now when moths are mating... Well, let me show you what I did later. Alright folks, I will leave the moths in here to do their business, and hopefully soon we are literally gonna have hundreds of babies. Would be pretty amazing, as usual. Yeah, let's check back a few days later to see the breeding project. The timing of these creatures, even more of them are coming out. No way. Including another male, and this time the male looks normal. Leave it! We just had a pairing, and right after that another fresh male and female come out of the cocoons. That's wonderful, that's like a dream. Let's get them into the cage ASAP. That means as soon as possible. What? This species is so cool. Still hoping to get a better close-up of the males later. Now guys, the females of this species I noticed, they fly a lot. I'm not kidding, these females are very active, especially after they have mated. That's unusual for me, I don't see that. For most Saturniids the females are kind of lazy. Anyway, we just got another male and female. Please ignore all the dead plants behind me, I'm working on the garden. That's basically garbage I still have to process. Anyway, this is the male. They're very small and colorful. I promise I will later make a close-up. But for me, breeding has a bigger priority than making nice close-ups right now. So I'm just going to put all of them in one cage. The males, the females, just like that. And I'm going to keep them in here until tomorrow morning. There's a reasonable chance that there will be even more matings and even more eggs by then. That, my friends, would be utterly fantastic. It would be a literal dream. if that happened. My surprise, these moths are very active. I left them outdoors in my garden in a cage on a warm summer day, and they just kept flying and flying and flying. And what I thought was really interesting is that even the females were flying constantly. On this channel I have raised an incredible amount of emperor moth species, but of most species the females are not so eager to fly. So I was really quite surprised to see how much the females of walterorum like to move around and fly constantly. I think it's just unique for this species. But it was very notable. It's definitely a different kind of behavior than what I'm used to. You see what this female is doing? I can. Let me tell you something. She is laying eggs. If you look closely, you can see her moving her abdomen around. Even when the sun was going down and things were getting a bit dark, they were still moving around. But then I noticed something that is interesting as it started to get dark. Well, let me show you what I did later. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe it. But the first batch of eggs that we collected, they were as fertile as they could be. I'm smiling, this is rare. When do you actually see me legit smile? I'm not an unhappy person, I'm just stoic, but actually smiling, this is a major victory. We freaking got the life cycle of Walter Silkmoth on my channel. Wow, I never would have imagined that I would do this. Let me grab the cam. Sorry, this is awkward footage, but hey, this is a vlog, okay, not a professional documentary. So if we open here the container, we see there is hundreds of babies, literally hundreds and hundreds of little Calosaturnia walterorum caterpillars. Oh my god. I'm going to raise an army of them now. This is pretty insane, bro. This is insane. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, let's check back a few days later to see the breeding project. Guys, it's the middle of the freaking night and I was about to go to bed. Then I heard a sound. It was the sound of fluttering wings. Guess what I found? You're not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this. No way. It's the moths. It's the freaking walterorum moths. There's males coming out right now. Oh my gosh. And there's not one, but 2 males. We have 2 males. Can you believe it? In the middle of the night we have 2 new males. Now I would want to make a beautiful close-up or picture of them, but we don't have time. I feel like ASAP I need to go outdoors in the middle of the night to introduce them to the females, so in the morning they can mate. This male is going really crazy, isn't he? What's the second one here doing on the table? Oh. Hello, can we get a close-up here? Please zoom in on my hand. Silly camera. Ah. There you go. Wow, this one is sitting really still with his wings open. Look at the beautiful golden yellowish orange hind wings. Wow, this species is so amazing, guys. So cool, so amazing. Just take a moment. This is just like a rarity on my channel, man. I'm so happy. But we have no time to lose because the sun is already coming up. And these single Pringles, well, they need a lady. They're gonna need a lady to mate with very soon. So I'm gonna place these rare beauties in this plastic container right now. Yes, sorry. And I'm gonna take them outdoors right now and place them with the females. I wasn't kidding when I said it's early in the morning. And here are the moths. It's currently in the middle of summer. It's mid-June. So what that means is that the nights are really short. And even around 4 o'clock, the sun starts coming up already. These are some of the shortest possible nights. I'm using the flashlight of my phone to navigate here through my garden. Ah, there we go. Here's the moths. I can't believe I'm doing this early in the day. To be honest. Let's see if it has any result. Wait. There they go. There's the males. Don't fly away, please. Honestly, this all looks and feels a little bit insane. But if it works, it works, right? Right. Well, it's still dark, even though the sun is gonna come up soon. Hope that early in the morning these males find the strength to mate. Guys, that was the craziest video ever. I know, I realized that. Kook. But hopefully it works, man. If it works, it works. Whew. If these moths pair, oh, I'm gonna be so happy. It means we did another rarity. Another rare and difficult species. Fantastic. One thing to remember, which is very important, is these moths fly in daylight. It's one of those day-flying Saturnid moths. It might be confusing because the vast majority of moths fly at night. They are famously animals who love the darkness, but this is one exception. I noticed they are very active early in the morning, but sometimes also late in the afternoon. But they can also fly during the day sometimes. They seem to love a bit of warmth and ambient light. So let me show you how some of the pairings happened in daylight. Guys, the past few days I've been incredibly busy, but the moths have been in the garden. I just didn't have the time to check up on them. And let me ask you a question. Would you believe me if I told you that all the moths have died? What? All of them have died? Bart, you didn't take care of them? Oh, you're a horrible moth breeder. Well, actually, this species only lives for a few days. Anyway, their lifespan seems to be around 5 or 4 days, especially the males. If it's warm, they fly a lot and exhaust themselves. And the females, well, let's just say they tend to pass away really fast after laying their eggs. One of the females is actually still alive. So let me get her out of the enclosure if I can. So, oh, she's wild. She's a bit wild. Come on, girl. Never not. I'd rather not risk them escaping. Wait. I'll just show you a nice close-up. People may be disappointed to find out that this early in the video the moths have already died. Because maybe you were hoping to see more close-ups. But don't be sad, because we still have like, I don't know, I think we have like 13 or 14 cocoons left. So there's gonna be more moths to take close-ups of. I was a bit busy, I didn't check up on them, honestly. Should have made a small update on the video, but I didn't have the time, I'm so sorry. But that's okay, YouTube is just my hobby. I try my best to make it educational, but sometimes there's a time skip of a few days if I'm busy. So this female, she's very beautiful actually, she's actually very large. We did a good job of raising these, I think. As you can see, her wings are a bit damaged. Anyway, so the other moths here, yeah, these are practically dead. Remember them? These are the males. So this female here, this female is dead. She is absolutely dead. There you go. And these males, they're also dead. Some of them die in a pretty good condition. Maybe I can actually pin them for collection. Now again, sorry guys, if we get more males, I'll make sure to make more close-ups and pictures. We didn't have much time for that anyway. But they did leave me a gift. Alright, yeah, so one of the female definitely has enough strength to fly around while the rest has died. Anyway, they've left a lot of eggs and I would like to harvest the eggs. Stop flying. Come on, girl. So these whitish things here in the corner next to this dead male are the eggs. I would like to collect some in a petri dish. Let's collect some. I'm just gonna do it using my fingers, don't worry, the eggs have a very thick shell. They are not bothered by me collecting them this way. They like it. Well, they don't like it, they're eggs. There's a lot of eggs here on the cage walls. Let me take them off. Place them in the petri dish. Collecting all the eggs, folks. Right guys, these are all the eggs. Ignore the music in the background, they have some silly kind of festival that's going on. Anyway, would you look at that? That's a lot of expensive eggs of a rare species, and I hope to God that they are fertilized. Let's really hope so. Now, believe it or not, but the eggs of this species take over a month to hatch. So if you obtain eggs of this rare silk moth, don't throw them away after 2 weeks. You see, most silk moth eggs take 2 weeks to hatch. And sometimes people forget, or they don't do their research, that the eggs of this species take about 5 weeks. So they can take a long time. Don't forget, guys, don't forget. I'm very excited to see if they are fertile. Oh, I would be so happy if that was true. It would be such a big achievement. Sadly, during this part of making the video, I was very busy with work. Yep, that's right, guys, you wouldn't expect it, but I have a job. Yes. A man has to work to make money. And because of that, I had little time to film. On top of that, the males of this species don't live very long from my experience. Actually, neither the males or females live very long. They live for like 4 to 5 days if they are fertile and mate and lay eggs. The female lays all her eggs and then dies. I think they can live a little bit longer if you store them in a cold and more dark environment. It was summer, and because of the temperatures, the moths were very active, which made them use all of their energy in just a few days. But they died and left behind a substantial amount of eggs. Yep, these guys are dead. They did not live very long. Rest in peace, moths. You were very beautiful and cool. That's it for now, really. That's the end. Now all I do is wait for more moths to come out. That's all I can do for now. I hope everything will go smoothly. If the first wave of eggs hatching wasn't enough, I'm gonna go for more. So I have multiple walterorum females here. Okay, let's go. I want to show you. Sorry for acting silly. Sometimes my personality gets a bit weird. That's who I am. Anyway. So, just be careful. As you can see, the females are looking pretty good, even though they are now several days old. Still very beautiful, but I think most of them have mated, and I think a lot of the eggs that are being laid right now, I think a lot of them are also fertile. We have several females here. So here's some of the other females. As you can see, they are starting to lose some of their beauty and color. But that's okay, that's fine. It happens to moths if they get old, right? There you go. Now the males are not in a great shape. I noticed these males of this species, they completely destroy themselves. Oh yikes, I don't think this one is in a condition to mate anymore. But that's fine, I think he already did. So the males of this species, they look silly. So the second male that we have, like, wow. Almost nothing is left of this male. Look at that. He lost almost his entire wings. It's crazy that how, if moths get old, their wings just deteriorate because they fly a lot and it makes a lot of friction. So yeah, the life of a moth is hard, as you can see. Anyway, it's time to collect more eggs because they've laid a lot more. This, my friends, is even more eggs somehow. Wow, we're gonna have so many eggs. Unfortunately, we don't have that much good footage of the males. The males are the most difficult to film. They look very distinct from the female. Maybe I should show you the close-up one more time. It's crazy that I spent over a year trying to film the life cycle of this moth in captivity, and yet I have failed to make good footage, good close-ups of the males. It's because the males of this species are extremely nervous and extremely uncooperative. This footage is really the only good footage that I managed to make of the males. In fact, it's footage that you saw earlier in this video, and we quickly rushed through it, so I'm just repeating the footage twice. Which some of you guys might say is kind of corny. I'm sorry for reusing footage, but like, it's really difficult to film them. The males are very uncooperative. They are very nervous. When touched, they try to fly away immediately. They are a major escape risk. They are also gorgeous and very different from the females because they have brown forewings, unlike the female who is just plainly orange. They only live for a few days too, so when they come out of the cocoons you better make a good photo or video of them, because 2 or 3 days later the wings will have been torn or the moths have even died of old age very quickly. But yeah, enjoy once again footage of the males. Now guys, during the life cycle of Calosaturnia walterorum, especially during the production of this life cycle video, I had one major issue. Now overall I'm really happy with this breeding project because we managed to breed a very difficult to breed and also very rare and hard to obtain species in the hobby. So yeah, I would say this is a big success. But I have one complaint, and that's the fact I completely failed to make a close-up of the males. In fact, the only moment I managed to make a little bit of a close-up of the males was when I discovered new ones were coming out at night. I'm sure you guys remember that little scene in this video earlier. But the problem is, it is really hard to manipulate the males in a way to make a nice close-up. They are extremely active. So therefore I preserved one of the males who died from old age. Just to show you what they really look like. Now this one, it died a natural death from old age. That's why it has damage. As you can see, it's not perfect. And I'm an amateur at pinning butterflies and moths. As you can see, I'm a complete newbie at it. But the thing is, the males of this species are so crazy. If you touch them, they go insane. They start flying. It's one of the most active Saturniids I've ever seen in captivity. They just refuse to settle down and cooperate. So let me stand behind the camera and show you a little close-up, because this is literally one of the males that we had in this video. And the funny thing is, you know... there you go. Finally. The funny thing is, on YouTube I have become kind of famous for having close-ups of species that are very hard to film. You know, on my YouTube channel I have video footage of insects that nobody has filmed before, that are very hard to manipulate, and usually I know exactly how to touch them in a way that doesn't spook them, that doesn't make them upset or stressed. I'm very good at gently manipulating insects in a way that they feel comfortable and allow themselves to be photographed. But this species was the biggest exception so far. They are impossible. From the moment the males come out of the cocoon, the only thing they want to do is fly, and they just don't stop. And if you touch them or try to get them to sit still for a picture, it's impossible, they refuse. So I have to resort to showing you a pinned specimen, because otherwise it's impossible to have a nice close-up. It was so hard. Also, there was the fact that several times we had males with kind of strangely shaped wings, I should say. Now, the females of this species are a lot more calm, and that's why we do have good close-ups of the females. At least they were willing to sit still. Here, as you can see, some of the scales have rubbed off. This is a bit unfortunate, isn't it? But at least now you can see what my males look like. They're really small, a very small little moth. Only lives for a few days before it dies. They only mate and then they literally die. That's about it. That's their whole life.
Rest in peace. And what's cool is the underside is kind of orangish, as you can see. Don't worry guys, it died a natural death. I also have a little update guys, because from now on I am going to sell the butterflies and moths that die in my videos. The species that I raise and they die a natural death. I don't kill them guys, they are not killed. They are not euthanized. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna frame them. My fans and my viewers have literally begged me, Bart please, Bart please, Bart please, I beg you. Begged me to sell dead butterflies and moths. And I'm ashamed to admit that for many years I've thrown them in the trash. But that's not very sustainable now, is it? I realized that if I sell online the butterflies and moths that die in captivity and in a good condition, it is sustainable. And it will also reduce the demand for dead insects that have been killed. So, if you want to buy these dead insects, it's possible. I'm gonna sell frames that I made myself using the insects that died during the making of my videos. And it's on my Etsy store. Guys, you can find the link to my Etsy web store in the description of this video or in the comments. It is where I'm going to sell from now on some of the dead insects and other merchandise that I designed myself. And you can buy it from me personally. Anyway, this is a bit off topic, a bit of promotion. I also just wanted to show you the dead walterorum because it was impossible to get a nice close-up of the male. Literally impossible. They are so hyperactive. So, I have also big news for the people who watch my YouTube channel. Really big news, you see. For many years people have been begging me, oh Bart Coppens, please can you sell me dead butterflies, can you sell me dead insects? And I admit to committing a sin. Because for many years I've thrown them into the trash after they die. I was too lazy to sell them or ship them or do anything productive with them. But I realized that's a big waste, isn't it? These butterflies are still beautiful. They are still in a really good condition. And by throwing them away, I would be kind of wasting them. So recently I started a new business. I'm going to sell these frames. I'm going to sell the butterflies that die during the production of my videos. And you can ensure most of the ones that I frame, most of the frames that I sell online, include butterflies that I didn't kill. They lived a natural life. I didn't kill them for it. Okay, they died of old age. And I preserved the ones who just happened to die in a good condition, including these ones. And this frame here is already sold. I'm gonna ship it now to a customer in the United States. If you are interested, you may want to take a look at my Etsy store. Now I'll put the link to my Etsy store in the description, but also in the comments of this video. But in the future, if during my videos, if insects die from old age, and they are still pretty enough, you know, I'm not gonna throw them in the trash anymore. I'm going to try to preserve them and sell them to you. So if you want to own a frame made by Bart Coppens himself, including insects that I raised myself on YouTube, keep an eye on my Etsy. Now, I'm very popular online, so if I sell this stuff, if I put it online, usually within a few hours somebody will order it and buy it and it's sold out. And there's limited availability, I can only make a few of them at a time. So if you want to own one, you'll have to look at my Etsy every few days, you know, keep an eye on it. Because you have to be fast. As soon as I offer them, usually they are sold out. But you can buy them from me. Check out my Etsy store, I'm gonna sell dead insects there. But let's continue. Remember those eggs we collected? After a while the eggs hatched. Let me show you, wait.
I'm not gonna show you yet, because there is something very important that I need to tell you in this video. The eggs of Walter's silk moth, Calosaturnia walterorum, can sometimes take over a month to hatch. If you obtain these eggs, you have to wait 4 to 5 weeks before any of the babies could come out. Even more interestingly, it seems to vary a lot. I've had babies come out after 3 weeks. I've had them come out after 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know what makes the difference. It might be temperature. Maybe warm temperatures trigger their development more early. In the wild, these eggs are laid early in the year from my understanding, when it could be still a bit chilly, or at least early in spring. And the eggs, they like to wait for when temperatures are warm enough, and then the larvae start to develop. But don't throw the eggs away, guys. A lot of people make this mistake. People think that the eggs are infertile because it takes too long. Most silk moth eggs only take about 2 weeks to hatch. This species is different. Don't throw them away. They could still hatch after a month or more. Anyway, it happened. Let me show you what it looks like, and the life cycle is completed. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe it, but the first batch of eggs that we collected, they were as fertile as they could be. I'm smiling, this is rare. When do you actually see me legit smile? I'm not an unhappy person, I'm just stoic, but actually smiling, this is a major victory. We freaking got the life cycle of Walter's silk moth on my channel. Wow, I never would have imagined that I would do this. Let me grab the cam. Sorry, this is awkward footage, but hey, this is a vlog, okay, not a professional documentary. So if we open here the container, we see there is hundreds of babies, literally hundreds and hundreds of little Calosaturnia walterorum caterpillars. Oh my god. I'm going to raise an army of them now. This is pretty insane, bro. This is insane. Oh my god. Wow. It's like that the life cycle is completed. Look at these hatching eggs. Basically, this video starts and ends the same way with the same setup, except that it's another generation of beautiful little caterpillars. Amazing. Wait. I heard a sound. Aha! More of them are coming out too. So now we have even more moths. And with that, the full life cycle is completed. But before we move on, I would very much like to talk a little bit about the ecology and life cycle of this species, because I like to learn from the species that we raise on this channel. We are not mindlessly just hoarding exotic pets, we are actually learning also about them. And I think that's one of the advantages of breeding insects in captivity, is having close experiences with these animals, learning to know them in intimate ways. And when we connect this with the theoretical knowledge that we have, I think that's when we have a full understanding of these insects. I like to promote their conservation also a little bit. So let me, without further ado, talk about it. Walter's silk moth, Calosaturnia walterorum. A splendid, beautiful and rare little moth species. Everything about this stunning creature is highly intriguing. The orange color, the color forms of the larvae, and the unusual environment where this moth lives. Many entomologists from California and Mexico dream about rearing or collecting this species. Yet it is elusive and often misunderstood. Today is finally the day that this legendary and rare species gets its own episode on YouTube. It took me many years, because it is difficult to figure out how to breed these moths, and how to get the conditions just right. Let's relax and listen to the biology and ecology of this very interesting species. If we take a big map depicting North America and look at the distribution of the moth species Calosaturnia walterorum, then we can see why the moth is considered to be rare. It's pretty much only encountered in southwest California and also a small part of Mexico called Baja California. Geographically this is part of Mexico, but it is somewhat of an extension of California in a way. I've included a second zoomed in map that I stole from iNaturalist, which is to be honest not the most accurate, but at least it shows some of their distribution on a smaller scale. But take this map with a grain of salt, it's the best I could find, but it's not perfect. Interestingly, I'm not sure if the full range of this species has been recorded precisely, although there's a lot of records. Especially in Mexico, it's very unknown where the species ends in terms of latitude. It seems that it has been documented from southern California, from Angeles National Forest, north of Los Angeles, and Mount San Antonio to San Diego, from the ocean into the hills of Cleveland National Forest. In Mexico, the records of this species seem to be more scarce. Not because the species is more rare here presumably, but perhaps because its distribution in Mexico has been more poorly documented, as I pointed out before. It is found as far south as Vicente Guerrero in Mexico and the surrounding hills, and also Rosarito in Tijuana. If you want to understand this mysterious moth species, then you need to understand one single word: chaparral. What does it mean? Chaparral is a type of vegetation, specifically a shrubland biome, characterized by dense, low-lying and often thorny evergreen shrubs, adapted to a Mediterranean climate. This climate features hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters with infrequent high-intensity fires. The chaparral biome is interesting and unique, and chaparral biome refers to native shrublands in California, with portions in southern Oregon and Baja California and Mexico. It is unique in the world, and the chaparral ecosystems are typically found at altitudes ranging from sea level to about 2,000 meters, or 6,500 feet. Chaparral is primarily a California phenomenon, although it extends a bit into southern Oregon, notably in the Rogue River Valley, and sparsely south into the Baja California of Mexico, but primarily it is Californian. There is also some chaparral at higher elevations in some parts of Arizona, such as in the Catalina Mountains above Tucson. I hope I pronounced the names of these places correctly. My native language is neither English nor Spanish. Chaparral can have many types of plants, hundreds of species even, but the dominant plants tend to be, depending on the location, chamais or Adenostoma fasciculatum, Manazita or Arctostaphylos species, scrub oak or Quercus species, Cheonotus species, Toyon or Heromelis arbutifolia, mountain mahogany or Cherocarpus species, lemonade berry or Rus integrifolia. Interesting. The environment is often dry and hot most times of the year, and many plants have hard and leathery foliage to prevent water loss. The community composition, or in more simple terms the community of plant species one might encounter and to which degree the species might be dominant, changes with elevation, rainfall and soil type and other factors. I'm just naming some of the most common and dominant plants in general. The chaparral is found in regions where the climate is classified as Mediterranean. Summer is hot and dry, with temperatures often reaching over 90 Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius.
Winter is mild and wet, with temperatures generally above freezing, but potentially reaching near freezing temperatures. Interesting. When it comes to precipitation, God, I hate that word, 10 to 50 inches or 25 to 127 centimeters of rain per year. Interestingly, most of the precipitation in the form of rainfall is concentrated in winter, aka the cooler and wetter season. There is a pronounced summer drought. It is a semi-arid shrubland dominated by drought-resistant evergreen shrubs and dwarfed trees. Now, in case that you didn't connect the dots yet, yes indeed, Calosaturnia walterorum, of course, is very much a chaparral species. The species is found from sea level to higher altitudes in a variety of chaparral habitats. That's why I explain chaparral and what it is in detail in this video. Because if you understand chaparral, you understand this moth. In order to complete the life cycle, the species has several host plants. But the species mainly uses about 4 important local types of plants. Perhaps the most important ones are varieties of Manazita, a plant from the genus Arctostaphylos. Interestingly, there are many species in the genus Arctostaphylos, reportedly over 60 species. Whether or not the specific species of Manazita makes a difference is a little bit less clear to me. It seems the larvae were often found on Arctostaphylos convertifolia and Arctostaphylos pungens and Arctostaphylos columbiana. But it would be interesting to take a deeper look into this and see if the larvae prefer certain types of Manazita and if it affects their growth. But I can tell you that Manazita or Arctostaphylos in general is very important for them. It is one of their main host plants. Lemonade berry or Rus integrifolia is another very important host plant for this little mothy. Caterpillars love to feed on it, and it seems to be a common member of the chaparral plant community as well. Then there is Malosoma. Malosoma is a plant genus which only contains a single species, it seems, Malosoma laurina. The common name laurel sumac. It used to be assigned to the genus Rus together with many other sumac species, but I guess botanists decided to split it. It explains why mine were able to eat Rus in this video if the plants are closely related. But in the wild, Malosoma is an important host plant for this moth. Arbutus menecisi, or Pacific madrone, is a plant that is native to the coastal regions of North America. Yes, this is another important host plant for Walter Silkmoth. Yes, Arbutus grows in America too. Us Europeans are familiar with it because we have our own variety here in Europe. Arbutus unedo or strawberry tree. The moth is also known to eat a bunch of host plants that aren't quite native to the chaparral at all. Interestingly and shockingly, people have actually managed to raise the caterpillars on sweet gum or liquid amber. Does every species eat liquid amber for some reason? And in this video I use the Rustipina or staghorn sumac, a non-native species of sumac, but it seems they accept other types of sumac in a lot of cases. It also has been raised on European strawberry tree or Arbutus unedo, which is not a surprise considering the fact that madrone is a native and a relative of this Arbutus. The caterpillars are also said to accept Schinus mole or Peruvian pepper tree. All unexpected and interesting if you ask me. Now here is one disclaimer. It is always the best thing to raise moths on the native indigenous food plants. When these native indigenous food plants are not available, then these non-native trees and plants might do the trick. But how the moths react to them and how well they grow on them compared to the native food plant is not always well documented. So don't sue me if your caterpillars don't grow well on some of the plants I mentioned. But I do have some references for people raising them on said plants, so it must be possible at the very least.
My moths seem to be somewhat fine on the sumac that I used though, although I did have some losses in the caterpillar stages. The moths seem to emerge early in the year, as early as January. Interestingly, how late they appear depends on several factors. The first being the temperature. In colder years, they might come out of the cocoons later in spring. Secondly is the altitude. But altitude, of course, also affects temperature. So high altitude environments might actually be colder, and thus the moths in these places come out of the cocoons just a bit later because it's colder. The latest individuals can actually be found as late as June, surprisingly. The moths are short-lived, and after mating, the females go and lay eggs clusters on shrubs and trees, such as Manazita, Pacific Madrona or lemonade berry plants. Now the eggs take about 1 month time to hatch. The development time of the eggs is a funny thing. It somewhat varies and it can take 4 to 5 weeks. Then the caterpillars, which take about 1.5 months to grow from eggs to cocoons, are generally found from March to August. Depending on location, once mature, the larvae spin cocoons that hibernate until next spring. Yep. And then from January next year and onwards, the moths come out and the cycle repeats. It is no surprise the species appears to be day flying because it was obvious in this video. It seems that the species has a preference for being active early in the morning, but I've also seen a lot of activity in the afternoon and during the twilight hours when the sun is going down. Interestingly, the females of this species, they can fly extremely well. This is in contrast to females of other Saturniidae or emperor moth or silkmoth species, of which the females usually tend to be a bit more reluctant to fly and also less capable of such sustained activity. Interesting. It might be worth studying. Another small fun fact is that the larvae of this species can sting. Don't worry, it's quite insignificant and not very painful. It was hardly worth showing or mentioning in this video. It's just an afterthought, but the fact remains that they do. The pain is mild and it goes away quickly, but if you have any allergies, perhaps you should be wary. Another interesting fun fact is that the larvae of this species seem to have 3 different color forms: green, yellow and orange, and all the color forms are featured in this video. The pupa of this species seem to be somewhat cold resistant, in fact much more than I expected. Although their habitat is dry and hot in summer, the winter can be more cold and humid. Especially on higher elevations, I imagine they may have to experience freezing temperatures sometimes. In this video you've seen how I kept the cocoons outdoors in the Netherlands in Europe, and somehow they successfully survived the winter. Personally, I do not know the limit of their cold tolerance, but I live in the Netherlands and my country seemed to survive the winter, including snowfall, frost and ice. In nature, the cocoons also have to hibernate, and the hibernation appears to be mandatory in order to complete the life cycle. Now you might be surprised to find out that there are not 1, 2 but 3 separate species of Calosaturnia. We shall very briefly talk about them. This video is about Walter Silkmoth, Calosaturnia walterorum. However, in order to understand walterorum better, we also need to have a better understanding of its cousins. First species very much looks like walterorum. It's Calosaturnia mendocino. The main difference is that it is smaller in size, but there's also other differences. For example, the female of mendocino has brown forewings, much like the males of walterorum do. Whereas in walterorum, the females are more plain orange and it's only the males with the brown forewings. They are very similar and sometimes difficult to tell apart in some instances, however, but this is one of the main differences. Calosaturnia mendocino flies in chaparral plant communities in the dry edges of redwood forest in Monterey Country, California, north through the Coast Range and from Tulare Country in the western slopes of the California Sierra Nevada, north through the Cascade Mountains and into southern Oregon. This moth can be found in most California counties where there is suitable habitat. It seems to be much more coastal than walterorum. The larvae and males look very similar to walterorum. The food plant also appears to be similar, mainly Manazita and Madrone. Calosaturnia albofasciata is arguably the most distinct and the most spectacular, although that's subjective, species. Females are pale and males are orange. Both sexes have a white streak on the forewing connected to the eye spots, giving them the name white-streaked Saturnia moth. This is, as of today, the third recognized species in the genus. It is very distinct from the other Calosaturnia, as you can see, and it almost reminds us of some of the more European species of Saturnia moth in appearance. Not surprising, since the European moths from the genus Saturnia are closely related actually. This beauty, Calosaturnia albofasciata, flies in mountain chaparral communities at moderate elevations, from Lake County, California, south through the coastal range in southern California and into Mexico, Baja California Norte. In the northern California counties it has been taken at elevations as low as 900 to 1300 feet. And while in the southern countries, where it seems to be more abundant, it is usually seen above 3500 feet. Yes guys, I'm using feet here because this is an American species. As you might have guessed, the host plants are mostly the same, but there are some important differences. The most important caterpillar hosts tend to be buckbrush or Chaonotus cuneatus, snowbush or Chaonotus cordilatus, desert Chaonotus or Chaonotus greggi, and mountain mahogany or Cherocarpus betuloides. So it seems that the plants they eat are slightly different. A single brood flies in October and November. The genus Calosaturnia is a small group of silk moths restricted to California and the adjacent areas. And the three described taxa, well, I already mentioned them just before, are Calosaturnia mendocino, walterorum and albofasciata. Now historically, these taxa were often placed in Saturnia, or treated as a subgenus of Saturnia. But natural history and morphological notes already flag them as a cohesive Californian entity. Smaller in size relative to many Palearctic Saturnia, but often day-flying habits and occupation of chaparral and sclerophyll habitats. Interesting. So guys, I remember when these moths were still in the genus Saturnia and this used to be Saturnia walterorum. But I guess entomologists changed their mind. A targeted phylogenetic and biogeographic study by Rubinov and Dorenweert, published in 2020, is a very important study, and it used multi-gene data such as cytochrome oxidase 1 barcoding, plus other markers and extensive taxon sampling within the Saturnia complex. And they found that the Californian clade of this group of moths is distinct and geographically coherent. Based on those molecular trees and matching biogeographic patterns, they recommended elevating several Saturnia subgenera, including Calosaturnia, to the rank of genus. Including Calosaturnia, which was revised, and subsequent phylogeographic work focused on the California clade, and it basically concluded its status as an endemic radiation within the California floristic province. So basically, modern molecular research has uncovered that Calosaturnia is more or less a monophyletic lineage separate from the main Eurasian Saturnia clade, justifying recognition as a distinct genus on phylogenetic and biogeographic grounds. The common ancestor of Saturnia and Calosaturnia was almost certainly part of a widespread Holarctic lineage of Saturniidae that occupied Eurasia, and at some point crossed into North America. Molecular phylogenies of Saturniidae indicate that the Saturnia complex originated in the Palearctic, with its earliest diversification likely taking place in Eurasia during the late Oligocene to the early Miocene. This timing coincides with a period of fluctuating climates and significant faunal exchanges between Asia and North America, facilitated by the Bering Land Bridge or Beringia.
During warm interglacial phases of the Miocene, Beringia was not the icebound tundra that many people imagine it is today, but a relatively temperate mosaic of mixed woodlands, shrublands, and open habitats. These environments would have provided continuous tracts of host plants and land suitable for Saturnid larvae, enabling gradual range expansion rather than long-distance dispersal by a few vagrant individuals. The Beringian route is the most parsimonious explanation, as it was the primary terrestrial corridor for large-bodied insects with limited ocean crossing ability. Basically, this species has crossed the land bridge that connected Russia, Europe, and the Far East with North America. Once in North America, these ancestral Calosaturnia stock likely spread southward along the western mountain chains, exploiting diverse forest and shrub habitats. Fossil plant evidence and paleo-environmental reconstructions suggest that by the mid to late Miocene, Western America was undergoing a transition towards more seasonal and arid conditions in many areas, with sclerophyllous and chaparral-like vegetation emerging in California. This environmental shift would have created ecological opportunities for adaptation to drier and more open habitats, a pattern consistent with the present-day restriction of Calosaturnia to the California floristic province. Biogeographic analysis suggests that the North American lineage diverged from its Eurasian relatives during this Neogene period of climatic and floristic change. While some descendants of the immigrant stock retained the broad ecological tolerances of Saturnia, the Californian branch became progressively isolated by a combination of geographic barriers and ecological specialization. Over millions of years, genetic drift and local adaptation reinforced the distinctiveness of the Californian clade, ultimately giving rise to the modern Calosaturnia. In this scenario, the Calosaturnia ancestor was neither strictly a temperate forest specialist nor a chaparral moth yet. It likely had a flexible life history, polyphagous larvae, and the ability to exploit patchy habitats. Traits that would have facilitated both its Beringian crossing and its eventual radiation into multiple ecological niches on the other side of the Pacific. The divergence we see today reflects not a single dispersal event followed by immediate isolation, but a long and gradual history of expansion, environmental filtering, and regional adaptation. When it comes to breeding this species, this moth is considered to be very difficult. It is not a species for beginners. If you are new to this hobby, it is not recommended that you try to breed walterorum. But if you like a challenge, perhaps give it a try. To breed it, consider giving them humid early stages, but then a dry and warm environment after the third and fourth instar. Give them fresh leaves. Replenish the leaves every few days. Give them warmth. Yes, they want to be warm, hot and dry. And strict hygiene if you can. Good luck, friend. Guys, I would like to say thank you. This video is probably not gonna get a lot of views, even though I worked really hard on it. It took me over a year to film all of this, not kidding. But I realized this is a really long video, really long, about one species of moth, and not many people are willing to watch this. This is not for mainstream audiences, this is for the most hardcore moth nerds out there. Are you one of the most hardcore moth nerds? Are you? I hope so, because then this is the channel for you. For you. And I want to show you some species that I'm breeding this year behind the scenes. Little sneak peek. One is called the splendid devil moth. It's gorgeous. Let me show you a quick impression of how beautiful they are. Wow! This is Citonia splendens, also known as the splendid devil moth. What a beauty! It's so beautiful. And if you follow my channel, we might just get a life cycle of this species if the breeding works out. Oh, fingers crossed. I hope everything goes well. This species is found primarily in Mexico, but also in southern Arizona of the United States of America. Stay tuned for this beauty. Oh.
Another species I'm working on behind the scenes, but which needs more time, is the rosy maple moth. Very popular. Let me quickly show you the progress with those.
The rosy maple moth? Oh my god, please let it happen. Are we gonna get a MothCycles episode on how to breed this species? Please, I hope the breeding project works out well and that I can write, edit and produce a useful video for you guys that will make a nice breeding tutorial on how to breed the rosy maple moth, a world famous, excellent and amazing cute little species. Follow this channel, subscribe guys, send the videos to your friends and family so this channel can grow and we can make these videos that you're waiting for. I'll try to breed them.
And I got cocoons of a very special moth from Africa. Epiphora lugardi. Beautiful. Let me show you.
This is a very rare silk moth. You rarely ever see them being raised in captivity. Epiphora lugardi from Africa. And if you subscribe to my channel, we might be able to see the life cycle of this one in the future. If that's something you want, then you really gotta listen to what I have to tell you today, because it's important, okay guys? Listen, please.
Now, to film all of these moth life cycles, I work really hard. Really hard. I mean it. I'm being silly, but I mean it. It's hard work. It's hard work for the most hardcore of moth fans. And during this video I had one really sad moment that stood out, which I really want to show you. It's these moments. And I think about half of my caterpillars died from this mysterious disease. It's a very sad moment. But this is also very typical of Calosaturnia walterorum. It's a very rare and difficult to breed species. The good news is that we did manage to breed this species. It wasn't a disaster. We somehow managed to get this species all the way from eggs to cocoons to the next generation, so I guess there was successful breeding, but those dead caterpillars, man. Those dead caterpillars, I keep thinking about them for one reason. You see, it's very hard to raise species that need to be dry and hot, like walterorum, in my home country where I live, which is the Netherlands. My country, the Netherlands, Northern Europe, I think it's beautiful. We have some awesome nature. Gonna make videos about that too. I don't just film butterflies and moths in captivity, but also in the wild. But we have one problem. My country is cold. And my country is humid. Cold and humid. It's the opposite of what this species wants. Now I've used a dehumidifier. Great thing. I think it saved my life. It saved my ass, so to speak. It's the best way to create a dry environment for a species that needs, I guess, low humidity. However, one of the things that I always wanted, and one of the things I always imagined for this channel, it's a dream, it's very silly, is having my own space to rear butterflies and moths. It could be like a laboratory. It could be like a greenhouse, a butterfly house. A space where I can control the conditions completely, climatically. I think that there is no limit to the species I could be able to breed if I had better control over the environment. I think the house where I'm breeding these insects, I've obviously been able to raise many species here, but in a way it's just crummy. It's crummy. It's an old house. Moist air comes in from outside. The isolation is bad. And I have to run these dehumidifiers, you know. And one dream I always had is when this channel grows bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe one day I would be able to afford a space like that. And if that was ever possible, it means we unlock so many new species, you know. I just want you to close your eyes, visualize and imagine this. Just imagine what it would look like if I had a greenhouse, if I had a laboratory, if I had a professional space to breed insects that is not my crummy bedroom. I wish it could happen. It only happened once in my life when I worked in Brazil. In Brazil I did a video on how to breed the black witch moth. It was a big crowning achievement of my channel. Not many people have raised a black witch moth at all. It was still working on a scientific paper about it. I was sponsored, I had a big budget and I had a breeding space for myself. That's when I realized that's what I really need to have the best results. Just my silly little bedroom, it's not good enough. But the real thing that I want to say is it's never going to happen without your help. Even with your help, it's probably never going to happen. But without the support of my fans and viewers, it's absolutely never gonna happen. I'll keep making videos until the day I die, until I grow old, until my hair is gray, or I grow bald, you never know. As long as I'm alive and breathing and able-bodied, I'm going to keep breeding those moths and making life cycles for you. But there's one thing that I need to ask for. It is your help. This channel has always had one struggle, which is that my content takes a very, very, very long time to produce and make. It's a big problem. And the good news is, since recently my channel is monetized, but at the same time it's still very difficult, you know, to produce videos that take over a year to produce for a very hardcore insect audience, you know, that are very deep into moths and insects and successfully be a YouTuber, come up with new videos, you know. I have to balance it with studying, with working, you know, work studies, life gets in the way, it's just tough. So I do want to say, if you like the show, there's a few options that I want to show you. First of all, since recently I have an Etsy shop. I published my own book about butterflies and moths. It has pictures and information about very rare species. It has commentary and text. These are pictures of rare butterfly and moth species. There you go. This is a gynandromorph butterfly that I raised. This is walterorum from this very video. And this book is chock full of pictures of butterflies and moths. There you go. I wrote it myself. It has a text index where you can read and learn about the species. So here for example. And if you check out my Etsy webshop, I can show you this incredible book. This exclusive moth book is now available on my Etsy. It's an awesome gift for any friends or family that are a fan of butterflies and moths. Or perhaps they are a fan of my YouTube channel. It contains exclusive information about butterflies and moths never seen before. I wrote it myself, I edited it myself, all using my own pictures, my own information. It is all do-it-yourself, and you can order them directly from my Etsy web shop. I'm very proud of this product. The photos are high quality prints. They are sharp and they are pictures of moth species that you're not gonna see anywhere else in the world. In fact, some of these species have hardly ever been photographed before by anyone. On Etsy I also sell other things like framed butterflies and moths that died of old age. I think I've showed some of them off in this very video, so I don't need to do that again. But it is one of my main ways to make income for this channel. Now I hate talking about money. It sucks, it's boring. You're coming here to watch a video about moths, not about finance. But really, it's my budget, it's my income that determines what I'm able to do. The second best way to support, or maybe the first best way, even better than getting things from my Etsy, but every way helps, to be honest, is check out my Patreon. Patreon is a crowdfunding platform, and we have even some goals there. When we raise a certain amount of money per month, I make a special video or film a special life cycle to reward the community for the level of support that we've been given. It costs as little as $1 per month to become a member of my Patreon. On top of that, people who are long-term members can receive rewards such as mugs, stickers, posters, a lot of exclusive stuff. Let me show you. You see these really cool mugs? This is just one example of some of the things that you can earn if you are a long-term member of my Patreon. I have a merchandise program, and people over time build up benefits. You can earn mugs, stickers, posters, and a lot more awesome stuff. And if that is not enough for you, somehow, and you need more ways to support, since recently it's also possible to become a member of my YouTube channel. We have channel memberships, and depending of how long you've been a member, you earn a little badge next to your name, which also means your comments will be prioritized on some videos. They'll come to the top and they will be answered first. And the longer you are a member, the more you upgrade in rank, and others can see your logo. So first you start out as a little moth, and if you've been a member for a long time, you get like a little badge of a morpho butterfly or something even cooler. And it really helps my channel. And most above all, I guess my long-term goal for this channel is to, once upon a time, make enough money, if that's possible, to make this operation self-sustaining. I'm close to that, but I'm not fully there yet. Unfortunately, it's just very hard. On top of that, I would really like to one day have enough to make like a breeding space, to create my own professional moth, laboratory, library, and really contribute to entomology on a higher level, more than I even do right now. I think more is possible. I think that there's higher frontiers for us to reach. If you like this show, if this video helped you, if you appreciate what I'm doing, and you want to see more of it, you want to see it bigger, better, you want to see me improve, consider becoming a member of my Patreon, donating via PayPal, buying something from my Etsy, stickers from my Redbubble store. There's so many ways that people can help and support. Of course, it's always optional, it's never mandatory, but it doesn't hurt to ask, does it? I have to. Thanks for watching the life cycle of Calosaturnia walterorum. I am very happy that all of you are here to watch and listen to me yap about a moth species for like 2 hours. It amazes me that there is an audience for that, and we will be back with more rare species in the future. See you in the next one, moth fans.